two.
Okay.
We are all here. Lon is taking Eric Hummel's place, who's on a checkup with his doctor. I will merge without objection item 3 and item 4, approve the agenda and approve the previous meeting minutes from May 7th, 2026. That is a motion.
I'll second it.
Second by Radke. Any discussion? Hearing no request to speak. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anybody online, Marty?
No.
Okay, public comments, none tonight. Chairman's comments. I don't have any now that nobody is here. Otherwise, I was going to. Chair will make a motion to approve the monthly bills, journal entries for the previous month and the financial reports. Good job on those, Diane.
I'll second.
Second by Fluger. Discussion? There are no requests to speak. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. Item number 8, this is pretty much a motion that we're not gonna have any choice to turn down. So Marty, explain.
So every year after the village audit is done, we send over our water financials over to the PSC and they look them over, revenue expenses for the previous year. And then they do basically a rough little spreadsheet that I included in your packet. That basically shows that the village of Port Edwards should highly look into at a 3% increase. And if you look back at the history that I included in your packet, it goes all the way back to 2008. Every couple of years we do a water increase. This would be a 3% increase. Just to give you some rough estimates of the numbers, basically you'd be looking at, we use 1,600 cubic feet through a 5/8 meter. That's an average 2-person residence in the village of Port Edwards. This would be an increase of $1.30 per quarter for the water. If you're doing the public fire charge, which we don't have a meter, you'd be going up $1.07. So in the scheme of things, this is even the 3%, but it is only the water, not the wastewater. So you're looking at a couple dollar increase, obviously depending on your cubic feet of water that you would use. Again, this would not be effective until September, which would be your first bill of 2027 billing. We start this process now because we're able to send it to the PSC for approval and also gives a chance for the residents, everybody to know this is coming. That's all done by the PSC, how we're regulated. So this is not through the village. The village does a wastewater, but the water is through the PSC.
Nick, do you have any questions on
I have
that?
none.
Nothing?
I'll make a motion to do that.
I'll second.
Okay, motion Radke, second Fluger. The only thing I have to add is what I added last night. My 6 years as village president covered the 2017 through 2022 matters. And if you will notice, 2019 through 2022, there is no increase. What does that mean? Nothing. I just want to. All right, that's enough gibberish. I should have said Diane. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. All righty, we are going to discuss on adding language under chapter 3.04 subparent 6. That village residents can send budget suggestions for the following year's budget. Did send a note to Larry Eisenstein. He had asked how to go about, having something to say, and I sent him an email that we're going to talk about it tonight. So he is not here. So at this point, I'm kind of vague on that issue, and outside of running a meeting saying yes or no to you guys. Ben, take it away, and I hope you guys, we have a good discussion about it. I have one strong feeling and total agreement with Ben Bond. We had talked before about it, and hopefully Lon will explain that again tonight.
So
Take her away.
So this conversation has come up probably over the past year. Some of this has come through the Nepco Lake development across the river. We had a lot of the requests coming through during budget time, after budget during the year. So this committee started talking about this, 3 or 4 months ago. Basically adding some language into chapter 3.04, where it talks about the budget of collecting requests, suggestions, I guess it really what it is, suggestions throughout the whole year. And then it would be presented to the board in September, all at once. So it's every month. We're not dealing with a request that comes in. Obviously, when the budget is set for the year, it's tough to make big changes anyway. So we'd want these requests, suggestions to be presented in September before we start the budget process. So this is just some language that I did some research, other communities. I'm looking for your input. Basically starting at January 1st, all the way to the last Friday of August, requests could be sent in to obviously board members, village office, wherever they would like. They would be collected in the village office and put in a spreadsheet. And basically at the September board meeting, I would give each board member a list of all the requests. I would probably itemize them if they were parks or public works or police or fire. I would try to put a notation by them so that way when they're handed out, if you're the chairman of that committee, you can have that conversation starting in your committee structure during the budget process. The questions, like I said, I found throughout looking at it is, how does this affect all village residents? How does this affect the budget this year? And how does it affect it in 10 years? That way there's a little bit of effort from residents. If you're gonna ask for something that, they look at it's tough, right? We deal with it every year when it comes to budget. So we want to make sure that these requests would get looked at, but also we're looking at the whole picture of the village of Port Edwards to keep functioning the way it has been and continue in the future. So at this point, I'm looking for your suggestions, how you'd like to move forward with this request that's been kind of asked for almost about a year at this point.
Okay,
Go ahead.
So I just have absolutely one quick one. I appreciate the fact that we're projecting this. How did 10 years come as the number that we settled on? Is that consistent among other municipalities or is it just? I'm just saying.
5 and 10 throws, I would tell you, and I looked at it, some were 5, some are 10. So
Okay.
again, this is just my personal bullet points. I want to start somewhere, so I'm definitely, this is up to you guys. And then obviously at the end of this day, this goes back to PLP. They make the ordinances and move forward on this. You guys would make suggestion. I think Mr. Chairman of PLP would actually have to create the ordinance and vote on if that's what you guys decided. If I'm
That's
correct.
procedure. That's their job.
well, when I was on FHR prior to this, we had talked about this and discussed it. And I didn't have an issue with putting something on the website saying if you had concerns or budget concerns and you wanted to submit your budget concern, go ahead, even make a form. I know that one of the trustees wanted to make a form. That'd have been fine. To change the ordinance, I said this many times. There's not a problem with the budget process of Port Edwards. Matter of fact, I commend Port Edwards for what we do with our budget, and how we do it is with trustees and getting our board together and making decisions, because we've had to make some tough decisions in the last few years as far as administrators, as far as where we're going to get money for roads, where we're going to get money for water systems, new vehicles, and we've done fairly well at it. I think that we've succeeded other communities. To change the ordinance, to do this, I look at all the forms that we have. Everyone, we always have correspondence received. Anybody in our village, anybody that's outside our village limits, we've never shut them down with coming in and speaking. When we had issues with fire departments or other departments, the community was welcome. Outside members of our community were welcome to speak and say their thoughts. And as a board, as trustees, we came together to make tough decisions. That's why we were elected. To change the ordinance on this, I am against that. I think that anybody that wants to see different things or budget processes move forward, they have the opportunity by sending a letter or written request to any one of our committees, to the board as a whole, to this committee, to any committee. And I have no problem discussing their request. They're putting it on the agenda, talking about it. and making the tough decisions that we need to make. And if we can do it, we definitely will. If we can't, we'll have to not. It all depends on how it affects every single resident, not just certain residents on 4th Street or Verbunker, how it affects the whole residents. That's all I have on that. So I don't think we need to forward this to change ordinances for people. And also in our ordinance, every year we have a public where the public can come in every year and talk about, we get a general draft of the budget. And then we have a open public mic to the public hearing. Thank you, Chair Sturflu. And people have come in and they expressed. And we've had to make those tough decisions, yes or no.
I should have added before we started, you'll notice under item 9 on the agenda, it's 3.04 subparent 6. I had Ben put that in there because that would be the number if we did something formal. It would, because right now it ends with subparent 5, and that's changes in the budget, and then subparent 6 would take anything on. I agree with Lon, basically. I mean, the system's working, why want to change it?
My other question is, if we put it as an ordinance, then, you know, I'm not sure why we'd have to, one, put it in as an ordinance.
Well, what Ben said though, is one nice thing about it. From January till, yeah, it is in writing, and you're not gonna come in every meeting and bring stuff up. You put it in writing, because what you're saying to me now, it's not gonna be there.
And I do appreciate the fact that we have a deadline, in order to be considered, because we need some time to collect it and analyze the impact and get it routed to the appropriate committee. I don't like, and again, it's how it's been, but I don't like when people bring things at that public hearing, because it's nice to know about things beforehand, especially if you've been thinking about it for several months. So even if it's an announcement and not an ordinance, I would like to say something to the effect of proposals should be submitted by X date for consideration for discussion and they can still bring them at that date at the public hearing. But it's nice, at least then we've got a little warning about what it's gonna look like.
Yeah, a warning, the shortest warning would still be a month old,
Correct.
which is
Right.
nice.
Rather than spur of the moment, we now have 10 minutes to make a decision on it. So even if it's not an ordinance, I would like to see some sort of deadline.
Yeah,
Or-
and that's what I thought, that, on the website, hey, you can submit your correspondence by email or by written request.
Project proposals are preferred to be submitted by this. We can't not address them if they come in after this date. But I would like to see them by this date.
My many years with the village, I have yet to think we had, 1 year, Diane, maybe 2 people showed up on an issue, public hearing. They don't show. We've had more commotion than anything else.
So I would be. I'm kind of on the fence with it as far as whether or not it needs to be an ordinance. I don't believe so, but I would like to see a deadline. I'd like to see the process formalized, whether it be a form or a spreadsheet or a Word document that they can download and complete and return. I want them to see, these types of things, like what's the impact to everyone? What's the 1 year impact? What's the 5 year? What's the 10 year?
And I wouldn't have an
what's the
issue with that.
rationale?
Right.
Yeah, but formalizing and putting it in an ordinance, once it's in ordinance, it's hard to change.
Correct.
As you've seen, it's several meetings to get that actually done, so. I like the process and formalizing it, but I don't think it necessarily needs to be here.
We can definitely look at the website and create what you guys are asking. And put a spot on there.
And that's what I thought. And unless things
Why
have
don't you
changed.
come back next month with an unofficial form or how you think we should do that? All right, you guys?
Yeah,
Did we work on that a couple months ago? I know. we
that's what I thought was
discussed
the
it.
deal.
Whatever, this is the kind of. This started and then I unfortunately was gone a month, we didn't have a meeting due to the change of the board positions and stuff, so that's kind of way it When we left the weekend, I need to come back.
The only nice thing about the ordinance is not only does it hold our feet to the fire, which is not the big thing, it holds the public to the fire too.
Mhm.
However, the only drawback of just doing, this is how we're gonna operate like a policy and procedure, not a policy and procedure.
Guidelines.
Yeah, then we gotta make sure that we don't deviate,
Mhm.
give a guy a break and, you know,
Yep.
that type of thing.
Guidelines are easy to amend as needed.
You wanna see, do
Ordinances are a little trickier.
you wanna see the 10 change to 5? I mean, I think this was something I totally, I'm open for suggestions. Do you want me to create it to 5 years out of 10?
I have no preference. I'm just saying for the average person, and I want to make this accessible.
Yeah.
For the average person, 5 years is gonna be kind of a stretch anyway. 10 would obviously be a lot to project out. I have no preference either way. I'm just wondering why
I'm a little
10 versus
confused, saying it's 5-year, 10-year. What is that for again?
the financial impact of the village in
Oh.
5 years. Because figuring out what the financial impact is gonna look like next year is kind of easy. 5 is there, 10 is kind of pushing it. So that was the only reason I asked if there was some sort of, consensus amongst other municipalities, like, we typically ask for a 10-year projection. So I just wanted to know why it was 10 in
Yeah,
there.
they were all over, like I said, a lot of
Some
local
applies, some
communities.
can't.
This had to get pretty broad out of the Wisconsin area. I'm not gonna lie to you, when you look in
10-year
Wisconsin.
fills a lot of paper space, but 5 years is more pragmatic.
I'll work, Kim and myself in the website. We'll see if we can't get you guys
What
a
are you
rough
gonna do with
draft.
the website?
Well, that is where this would be. So I have to,
Oh, yeah.
we have to work to make sure we can create the document on the website. 'Cause that's what you guys want with those
But don't
questions.
do no printing until.
No, we have to-
Come back next month, we gotta.
I just wanna make sure we can create it before I give it to you guys.
And I'd like to see no more than like 5 or 6 fields, keep it very basic. Don't get too ancillary and down into the weeds, like, here's the project, here's the purpose, here's what the initial financial impact is gonna be, here's the long-term impact. Just make it nice and executive summary style. Then we can bring it back and discuss it and find out, is it fiscally,
Then he can crank out what he's gonna do, what he'd like to do and email it to the committee.
correct? And if we have more questions than we have answers, we can always go back to the requester and say, hey, can you provide us a little more detail about this portion or this portion, but I don't want to read a 7-page proposal on 16 different things.
Then if you could, as you're working on it, and you want, when it gets time to do your final presentation to the committee, make sure that you send the emails individually to all of us. That way you two can talk, he and I can talk. Because we don't want to get on one email and start answering.
Sounds good.
And if there's no objection, I would like you to include Lon in
Okay.
this, because he was dealing with this for
Okay.
quite a while. So you're
Sounds-
okay with you, Lon?
Yeah, definitely.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you for taking care of that, Mayor. Without objection, I'm gonna go right to number 11, so we don't have to have Diane hang around while we're in a closed session unless you want to.
No, I mean, it's up to you.
You mean go to 12.
And,
11 is action out of closed session.
actually, oh, yeah, well, 10, 11, old business, new business. You guys know what my feelings are on that. Any new business that you've heard of that you'd like to see on the agenda for next month? I've had nothing.
Other than the proposed form. That would be better.
Correspondence received, and then again, just like I did at the Public Safety Committee at the county, is, we don't talk about it. Somebody gets a letter, we can read it, and then we don't talk about it. We just, even if the person's in here, what are you gonna do about my letter? Well, I'm gonna ask the committee whether want they want it on the agenda for the next meeting so we can talk about it.
Correct.
In fact, at the county, we just got rid of it. Port council supported me. You don't have to.
Makes sense.
And who was really bogging down was the sheriff. So. That'll be the agenda item then for one of the agenda items for next week. We'll bring back, I don't know, Ben, if you're gonna want to reword, the discussion on the language,
We can work on it.
but, you guys want to change that from, chapter 304 addition with subparent 6 to just a guideline for however you want to word it for dealing with citizens' input to the budget process. However you want to word
I
it.
think that might.
I think we can just remove under chapter 304, sub 6. And just leave it as discussion on adding language that village residents can send out
There
budget
you go.
suggestions.
There you go.
Then we remove the reference to the ordinance.
Okay, Ben, before we go into our closed session, when we go in, well, Diane would still be here, but when we come out, if you could report the, time we came out of closed session and the adjournment. Yeah, you'd need come out with you, Diane. Yeah. So if you could get her that tomorrow, that when we come out of closed session and when we adjourn the meeting. Okay?
I'm out.
Yep. Thank you, Diane. I appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Diane.
Happy about it.
Have you